Hey there, Dubbie Crew. That's what I'm going to assume is going to be our channel name, hashtag Dubbie Crew. It's time for another video, another talkie. Still lots going on in the Magic the Gathering world, but before we jump into any of that, I'd like to go over this card that I think you're all sleeping on. It's a card that I found in my collection. As you can see, it's one that costs 3, 1 blue and 1 white, and just has an amazingly good title, Wisdom of the Crowd. It's a card draw card. This would be really good if you have a lot of tokens that would be in blue and white, the colors that you're looking at. Obviously blue, great for card draw. And, okay, I can't keep it up. I'm sorry in advance. Yeah, I'm not really sorry. I'm probably going to do this again, so I'm not going to apologize for something that I intend to do, but I do need to come clean. This isn't an old card, nor is it a new card. This is a card I just created. I just made it up for the lulz. Not just for that, I have a point that I want to make with this card here. The name is what I'd like everyone to focus on, but before we get to that, I have 2 favors to ask everyone. This is going to be a bit of a chat about Magic the Gathering again, and about something that I'm really disappointed that we're falling for, or seemingly following for from what I can see. Before that, I'd like to ask everyone, or advise everyone in advance, that I'm going to be asking you to do 2 things. One's going to be at the end of this video, and one's right now. I'm going to ask you all to follow me on a story for a second. This is going to be a story where I'm going to ask you to close your eyes so that you can really feel the story the right way. I think it's very important that you feel the story. But before I do that, I just want to make it clear to everyone that if you decide when you've started this that you'd like the journey to stop, you just have to open your eyes. I can't keep the story going in your mind unless you want me to. So if you don't want the story to stop, you have the power to control that. If you'd like the story to continue, I'd invite you to close your eyes now. I want you to imagine that you're playing basketball. If you've never played basketball before, that helps, because what I want you to imagine is that you don't know how to play basketball, but somehow you're on a basketball court right now. I want you to see in your mind what's around you. You can see the basketball in your hands. You can feel it in your fingertips. It's got little bumps on it. It's made of a rubber. And you can feel, if you squeeze it a little bit, that it's full of air. It would give a nice, satisfying bounce on the ground. You wouldn't be able to keep up with it because you don't play basketball, but you'd be able to do that if you wanted to. You could bounce it off the ground and it would feel really good. Make a nice, satisfying sound on the wooden floor of the court that you're on. Steph Curry, just as an aside, when you watch this, it's going to be hard for you to imagine that you're not a good basketball player. So just imagine you're any of the opponents that you play against, and that'll get you in the right set of mind. In addition to seeing the ball, I want you to feel the ball in your hands. You can feel it on your fingertips. I want you to feel the sweat that's already running down your face. You've been playing the game for a while, even though you don't really know how. You can feel the air is thick with your sweat and with others. It's like being in a jungle, and it's hot. The lights on the court are bright white hot, and they're just bathing you in heat and light. You can also see that you're surrounded by a crowd of people, thousands of people, probably more than you've ever had around you in your life. Those thousands of people are all looking at you, and you can feel that they know you're not good at basketball. You can feel that in your heart. You can see, taste, smell, all of the senses of a basketball court that you're on now. What you also see is a basketball net, and that basketball net's in front of you, and there's no players in your way. And you realize you have the ball, and it's time for you to take a shot. So you get yourself ready. I want you to feel your arms move to pump the ball up, to push it up into the air. I want you to feel yourself count down to do that. 3, you're getting your arms ready. 2, you're counting out loud. You're so excited to be able to do this. 1, you feel the ball start to roll off your fingers. And as you shoot the ball, you watch it go up a couple feet in the air. But then you hear footsteps behind you. You hear them running. You hear the crowd suddenly gasp. And all you see is a shadow pass over your head as a person sails right over your head They must be 12 feet in the air. You can't see who they are, but they're sailing over your head. They go to pump their arm, and you see them approach the ball that you shot, still arcing up. They approach the ball, and as they get close, they slam the ball down as hard as they can right in front of you. It doesn't hit you, but it slams on the ground, the loudest sound you've ever heard, as the crowd goes bananas. Everyone is off their seat. They are standing, they are cheering, they are laughing. This is the best thing they've ever seen. This is why they came to this game. You are petrified. You feel the strength in your legs drain as you fall to the ground. You're not hurt beyond emotionally, but you're a broken shell of a person. You're one chance at a shot, and you lost it. Weakly, with sweat in your eyes, the person slowly comes into focus as they're celebrating one of the best highlight plays of the year. And you look and, oh my goodness, it looks like it's Cynthia Williams, CEO of Wizards of the Coast. You wait as your eyes return to focus, but yes, it's undoubtedly Cynthia Williams. What are you doing here? You weakly ask. Shouldn't you be overprinting Magic cards? She leans down and whispers, both to you, but into a microphone that she's carrying with her too. You can hear that it's hooked up to the auditory system as it churns on, and the crowd goes silent as they wait for this. And she just says one thing to you. There's no evidence that's happening. And she drops the microphone and Fortnite dances over what's left of your body as your spirit leaves you. Okay. I'm going to pause there as you feel the crowd cheering louder than they've ever cheered before. I want you to return to the real world now. You can feel free to open your eyes. That was a little scary. I hear you. This was the most intense thing you've ever been through, and I understand that. I just want to let you know that it wasn't real. As far as I know, Cynthia Williams is a mediocre basketball player at best. And you'll remember, even if you've played basketball against her, she plays zone defense. This maneuver probably wouldn't have been used on you anyways. But the other part, where you said that she's overprinting Magic cards, and she just replied and said, well, there's no evidence of that. That's just as embarrassing as this basketball situation. That part's real, and you guys aren't stopping that for some reason. I want to emphasize as well, by you guys, I mean every YouTuber, every player, everyone who's scoffing at her saying that, saying, no evidence, look around. Well, I think she is, and she doesn't see evidence. What she does see evidence of is the product selling more than it ever has, hybrid players increasing, she's seeing digital revenue going up, she's seeing physical cards going up, she's seeing more people buying more sets and being more aware of Magic, and she sees nothing but evidence pointing up. For you to say that the evidence actually points down and then not provide any evidence is a really bad look. So, okay, we've made a really bad shot and it got stuffed back in our face. Here's what else I heard, though, and this might be something the rest of you are missing. She didn't give a human English answer. I'm sure she's human, that's perfectly fine, but she didn't give a human English answer. She gave a corporate English answer, and they're not the same thing. It takes people years to learn how to speak corporate, and I have a little bit of a secret for you guys. I actually know how to speak corporate. So here's what I'm going to say for that. When she says that she doesn't see any evidence for it, could she be lying? Absolutely, she could be lying. I want to be really clear. She could be lying about that. She doesn't need to lie about it if we've never provided any evidence. What she's saying is, I'm going to keep saying there's no evidence of this until evidence is provided. And then I will either change course, which is what we would want her to do, or alternatively, she will have to come up with another excuse. And I know what you're thinking at this point, John. If she's just going to come up with another excuse, what does it matter? Well, you're all Magic players, right? I want to be clear about something. If you think your opponent is bluffing, if you think that they don't actually have an answer, are you meant to just assume they have the answer and fold? Or are you meant to make them have the answer? I'm saying, make her have the answer. If it's a real other answer that she doesn't want to stop making products or something like that, let's make her have that answer. To get there, we're going to need to have evidence. Here's what that would look like. I'm going to put that card back up on the screen, and I'm going to remind you all of the title of the card, because that's the important part here. Wisdom of the crowd. For those who might not know, this isn't just a real badass name for a card draw spell. I think everyone should use it, but hashtag DubbieDubbes, this is mine. I'm putting dibs on it. DubbieDibs, I should say. Hashtag DubbieDibs, no one touch it. It's my name. I made it. What I'm going to suggest is we use this technique to actually get this done for her. Let's imagine that you're at a state fair. You know, the ones that have giant pumpkins growing there? Often at a state fair, they'll have you guess how much the giant pumpkin weighs. Now, some of the people at a state fair I actually could imagine are experts in what giant pumpkins weigh, but the rest of us, let's pretend it's like the real world where we don't know what giant pumpkins weigh, because that's crazy. Here's the thing about giant pumpkins. If you don't know what they weigh, you would think that if you asked, say, 1,000 people what they think the giant pumpkin weighs, and you took all their guesses and you averaged them together, you would think that the average would end up far away from the real answer, just like any of their individual guesses would. But a funny thing happens. It actually ends up pretty close to the real answer. And this happens anytime you can get a diversified, large enough sample size. Magic players, we're pretty good at diversity. We have collectors, we have players. This is the diversity that I'd be talking about. We might still be too specialized, but another thing that we do have is a lot of engagement in our hobby. If we don't understand how this phenomenon works, I'm telling you, I don't think Wizards understands how it works yet either. And this would be our best bet to try to get the first bit of evidence towards stating that cards are overprinted. We want to be really clear with what we're talking about as well. When we say cards are overprinted, do we mean the actual number of cards is too high? Do we mean the number of sets are too high? Do we mean the number of versions of cards are too high when we include showcase frames, things like that? All of that needs to be clarified. We need to be really crisp with this. And what we need to do is come up with a number. Here's the power of wisdom of the crowd, though, as a statistical phenomenon. You don't have to have your own individual answer to that be right, or even close to the answer, for that answer to be helpful. If you'd like to help towards this question, you have the ability to do that. And that leads me to my second question for you, my second request. I need you to like, share, and subscribe to this video. I'm going to be reaching out to the large YouTubers, the Tolarian Community Colleges, the Rudy with Alpha Investments, those types of channels, because we need volume around this request. When it comes to liking and subscribing, I need to increase my channel to make sure that there's more voices giving those kinds of answers. But especially, I need comments. We need to put in that actual data to be able to provide that to Wizards of the Coast. If you'd like to have some evidence that would actually show that cards are overprinted, this would be a good first step. Don't just tell me cards are overprinted. That doesn't help anything. If you believe cards are overprinted, that's great. But if you don't have a number towards that, it doesn't mean anything. If you believe that we're printing 10% too many cards, or 20%, or 50%, it doesn't matter what the number is. What matters is that you've attached a number to it. Because with a whole bunch of numbers, we can turn that into an average. And if the average shows that there's too many cards being printed, or too many sets being printed, or too many different types of frames being printed, whatever metric you want to look at, if we can define that term, then we can go back to Wizards of the Coast and say, hey, this statistically relevant phenomenon shows that we actually have 10,000 people who, as an aggregate, believe that we're printing 15% too many cards. Your guys' first complaint where you're saying cards are overprinted, that doesn't mean anything. Cards are being overprinted, I don't know. Look around yourself for the evidence. They don't want to do that. Do you know what that sounds like to an investor or a corporate person? It just sounds like whining. Most of them have kids. Don't whine like a kid. If you tell them, hey, a whole bunch of us are actually working on an answer to this, and we have some evidence here that cards are 15% overprinted. Anyone who's an investor, they like numbers. Now you have something you can work with. 15%, why 15%? Why not 20%? Why not 10%? How do you know they're overprinted? You'll be taken seriously if you can give them serious numbers. this would be the first step towards doing that. I hope you do take it seriously. If you want to help get magic on the right course, first you need to prove it's on the wrong course. The CEO told you point blank she doesn't see any evidence. Let's go give her some.